The darkroom is one of the last purely analog crafts left in photography. No software, no presets, just you, chemistry, light, and paper. And the beautiful thing, you don't really need much to get started. So whether you're dreaming of your first darkroom or you're ready to actually build one, I'm about to show you exactly what you need, what it costs, and why it matters. And this is going to be the first video in a series of how to actually get started in darkroom printing, from gear to the moment you pull your first print from the developer. And new videos are going to be dropping every Sunday morning, so make sure you don't miss them. This series is designed to get you printing, to actually experience the magic of the darkroom and see what you're actually capable of. And as a bonus, if you want to make sure you're not missing any of the gear you're going to need, I put together a free gear checklist. So grab that now, so when you're ready to start, putting all your stuff together, you have that. And I guarantee by the end of these videos, you're going to know exactly how to make a print, and you'll have the basics completely nailed down. But if you want to take it even further and go from making prints to mastering the darkroom, I've also put together a free masterclass that shows you exactly what that path looks like. In that, I break down the 3 reasons most darkroom printers struggle, and I'm telling you right now, it's not gear. I also cover the framework for consistent gallery-worthy darkroom prints, and then what advanced techniques actually exist and when to use them. It's an overview of the complete system that took me over 30 years to figure out, and the link is in the description. But for today, let's get you set up to make your first print. Let's talk gear. First up, we have your Enlarger. Now this is a projector. It's essentially a reverse camera. So instead of light coming through the lens to hit film, you're projecting light back through the negative down onto your paper. Now here's what you need to know. You don't need anything like super fancy. In fact, the simpler, the better. I've made beautiful prints on $150 used enlargers, and some of my early work came from an old Omega I bought off Craigslist. What really matters is this. Your enlarging lens, this is where your image quality actually comes from. Your sharpness, your contrast, and the ability to just make crisp details in your image. I'd rather see you get a super basic enlarger with a really good quality lens than something fancy with a cheap lens. The lens is where you should actually concentrate and invest the most. Dollar for dollar, it's gonna give you the best jump in image quality in all of your darkroom equipment. So some recommended lens brands would be Schneider, Rodenstock, or Nikon. For 35mm, get a 50mm lens. Medium format, anywhere from an 80mm to a 105mm lens, and that really depends on the coverage you need. So if you're shooting, say, 6x6, an 80mm will cover that fine. If you're shooting the larger medium formats, say 6x7, 6x9, you're gonna wanna jump up to that 105mm lens. And I shoot many of those formats, so what I do is I just use a 105mm lens and it covers all of them, including my 6x6. So that's just the lens I use for medium format. And then for a large format lens, like for 4x5 anyway, you're gonna want like a 135 to 150mm lens. And I use a 150 for my 4x5 film. Now, if you get into large format, you're gonna need more coverage than that. But for these videos, we're not gonna go past 4x5. And to find these lenses, I would definitely check eBay. I've gotten a lot of mine off of eBay. You can definitely get great quality lenses there. Just make sure they're in great shape and that they do offer returns, just as a peace of mind. KEH Camera is another one, and if you're lucky enough to have another type of local camera shop, you can usually find used lenses for anywhere from $50 to $300, depending on how new and the quality. Again, this is where you're going to want to splurge a little bit when you're getting started. All right, up next we have paper. So if you're just getting started, I would definitely recommend just using RC paper. And that's short for resin coated. It's faster to wash, it dries flat, it costs a bit less, and it's just way more forgiving than fiber-based paper is. It's just easier to start with. And definitely my go-to recommendation to start out would be the Ilford Multi-Grade RC Deluxe. I have it in the pearl finish, but it does come in several finishes. And once you've got some experience and you want more of an archival, gallery level feel, you can start exploring fiber-based paper. But right now, just stick with the RC. Hey, here's the magic. Wherever light hits the paper, it turns gray or black. Wherever light doesn't hit it, it stays white. That's it. That's black and white darkroom photography. I'd also recommend starting with a box of 8x10. You could get a box of 5x7 as well, but what I like to do is buy the 8x10 and then just cut it in half to 5x7 sheets if I want to. And it gives me that flexibility. With one box of paper, I can really print 5x7 or smaller and 8x10 if I want to. And consider that your learning stack. If you want to go smaller, you can. Like I said, you can trim those to 5x7, but I wouldn't recommend going bigger to start until you get comfortable, because the bigger paper means more expensive mistakes. So the third thing you're gonna need is some chemistry. Specifically, you need three things: develop, stop bath, and fixer. Now, developer brings out the image in the paper. This is an alkaline solution that actually reveals the latent image that got exposed on your paper. And if you're starting out, I would recommend Ilford's multi-grade developer, simply for its quality and ease of use. I would recommend mixing it up 1 to 9. So quite simply, to make up 1 liter of working developer, you're gonna start with 100 mils of the developer and then add water to make 1 liter. Then you're gonna mix it and pour it into your developer tray. Next, stop bath is going to neutralize the development. So it halts the development process. So you take it from the developer, you put it in the stop, and that stops any activity of the developer. I use Ilford's indicator stop bath. It's got an indicator dye in it, and it starts out orange, and then as it gets used up and it becomes from the acidic state to the alkaline state from the developer getting pulled over into it, it starts to turn purple. So it's not causing that shift in pH anymore. So you're gonna know exactly when you need to swap it out. And to make up 1 liter of working stop solution, what I do, it's 1 to 19. I just measure 50 mils of this and then bring it up to 1 liter of water. And then you're gonna wanna mix it up good and pour it into your stop bath tray. All right, then the last chemical we have for this particular lesson is going to be fixer. So fixer makes your print permanent. It clears away any of the unexposed silver so your print doesn't darken when the lights, when you're exposed the paper to the light. Now for RC paper and Ilford's rapid fixer, you can use a dilution of 1 to 9 for 1 minute. So this is gonna be the same as your developer solution, at least the same how you mixed it, right? You're gonna go 100 millimeters of the fixer, and then you're gonna wanna add water to make 1 liter. Then you're gonna mix it up and pour it into your fixer tray. Now here's some advice on your chemistry. Chemicals are cheap. Paper, more expensive. Don't ruin your prints because you're trying to squeeze out a few more prints from exhausted developer. It doesn't make sense. I personally use fresh developer every time. Now your stop and fix can be reused. You're gonna discard your stop bath, like I said, once it turns from that orange color over to the more purple color. And Ilford says you can fix up to around 80 8x10 RC prints with 1 liter of working solution. But when you're starting out, I recommend cutting that in half, because each is going to release like a different amount of silver and byproducts into the fixer, which is what actually causes the exhaustion. Basically, the more white areas in your final print means the more unused silver, and that gets cleared out into the fixer solution and saturates it. So I would just err on the side of caution. That's my advice. Fourth, you're gonna need 4 trays, 1 for your developer, 1 for your stop, 1 for your fix, and 1 for your water holding bath. Now, if possible, get trays that are 1 size bigger than the prints you plan on making. So if you're going for 8x10 prints, go for 11x14 trays. It just gives you a little bit more room to work. It's also nice to have print tongs so you're not getting your hands just full of chemicals, and then when you're grabbing the paper, the chemicals will get on the paper. You want to keep your hands clean, so tongs help with that. And you want to get 1 for the developer, 1 for the stop, and 1 for the fix, so a set of 3. And keep them separate and really try not to cross-contaminate the chemicals. I would recommend getting 2 timers. A Darkroom Enlarger timer that controls the exposure you're giving the actual print under the Enlarger. So say you set it for 10 seconds, you hit the button, the Enlarger light turns on exactly for 10 seconds. It's very repeatable. Then it shuts off. It's simple and repeatable. And the other timer is for monitoring the time your print is in the developer, stop bath, and fixer. I do have an app for this as well if you're interested in using your phone, because you definitely can do that as well. You're gonna want an easel to hold your paper flat under the Enlarger and also create nice clean borders. A focusing finder is gonna really help you dial in sharp focus. of your negatives onto your paper. You don't want to go through all this trouble and then have out of focus prints. That makes no sense. So get yourself a good focus finder to make sure things are sharp. Now, if your Enlarger does not have any built-in filters, like with a color head or variable contrast head, I will cover that more in future videos. But for now, if they don't, you're going to want to use something like the Ilford grade filters. And this is going to help you adjust your paper's contrast. So filters are cheap. You can get a set for, around 50 bucks, probably less. Just depends, and that's for a full set. And they let you adjust the contrast of your paper from low contrast to high contrast. And then lastly, for this gear section, you're gonna want a red or amber safe light. Most black and white photo paper isn't sensitive to red light, so you can work under these lights and still be able to see what you're doing without ruining your prints. So again, for this stuff, I would check eBay, Craigslist, and if you're lucky enough to have a local camera shop, they will usually have some deals as well. Or know of somebody that has a darkroom that's just been unused for years and they will maybe just give you the stuff. It happens all the time. So you can save a lot buying used, and for most of this stuff, there is absolutely no need or huge benefit to buying anything new. Apart from maybe if you really want to, if you have the money and you want to get a brand new, like the best lens, but they're expensive and you can find them for huge bargains used. So I would just find good used stuff. And then here is one more thing that's gonna save you a ton of frustration. A way to take notes. If you don't write down what you did, you can't repeat it. I have a lot of prints that I love, and I have no idea how I made half of them. What filter I was using, what exposure time, what paper, no clue. Don't make my mistake, just take notes. It can be as simple as something as writing what you did on the back of your prints or a notebook. Just write down your settings. That's it. Now, I have a complete print log system, and I'll go over that more in the future videos. But for now, just know that taking notes is not really optional if you want to avoid frustration while improving at this craft. All right, so that's the basics of what you need to start making darkroom prints. That and a dark room or dark space. So I briefly touched on the amount it costs for some of the tools and gear, but let's actually talk money. What does this all cost? Well, you can spend anywhere from a few $100 to thousands and thousands on darkroom gear. But here's what I want you to know, and this is really important. I've seen people with $300 setups make prints just as beautiful as people with $5,000, $10,000 setups. It's the same with cameras. The difference usually is not the gear. It's knowing what to do with it. Now, a good sharp lens matters. Like I said before, that's your one investment priority. But beyond that, you don't need expensive equipment to make beautiful prints. You need the right approach. You need to understand what you're doing and why. So whether you're starting out with a budget setup or you're going all in with premium gear, even new, what really matters is the system that you're following and what that workflow is all about. All right, so now you know exactly what gear you need to get started to make darkroom prints. No more guessing on this, and hopefully no more overwhelm. Now, next Sunday, video 2 drops, and this is gonna be all about setting up your Enlarger for your first print. And like I said, by the end of this series, you're gonna know the basics and have experienced the magic of the darkroom, and that's huge. That's the absolute foundation. But if you wanna go deeper, if you wanna go from making good prints to masterful prints, you should also check out my free darkroom masterclass, and that shows you exactly what that journey looks like. In this training, I'll cover the 3 reasons prints become inconsistent, specifically as you advance, and how to fix that problem. I also go over a proven 3-step framework for predictable, gallery-worthy work, what advanced technique exists, like bleaching, dodging, burning, and more. And the best part is that it's completely free, so you can check that out. The link is in the description. And I've also created a complete darkroom gear checklist, like I mentioned before. That's gonna just help you make sure you have everything you need to get started. That's completely free as well. Download it in the description. And if you found this helpful, hit the subscribe button. I'm dropping a new video in this series every Sunday morning till we've covered everything. I'd also love to hear from you, so please drop a comment below. Like what piece of gear are you most excited about to get? I do read every single comment, and I really enjoy all the feedback I can get on this channel, so thank you. I'll see you next Sunday for video 2. Till next time.